What did you think of Mac Jones' performance?
Mac Jones is an executor and a ball distributor. That's what Mac Jones is. His touchdown to Jennings, I thought that was a really, really good play by Mac Jones. That's the kind of thing he can do. He was outstanding on third down. He was 7 for 12 for 121 yards and all 3 touchdowns. I thought he played really solid football.
Greg Cosell joining us on the River Islands guest line with all things from the 49ers. You could say to us that you've got a bromance with Fred Warner, and then the very following week, he wins NFL Defensive Player of the Week.
I mean, it's funny. There's 4 or 5 guys that work with me on the NFL matchup show every week, and every time I watch the Niners D, I just say to these guys, God, Fred Warner is so good. I mean, he's just so much fun to watch. I mean, the size, the way he moves, he sees things instantly. I mean, I've thought for 3-4 years, maybe longer, I lose track of when he came out, but I do remember even evaluating him coming out of BYU, where he almost never, ever lined up as a stacked linebacker in college, by the way, and obviously became the best stacked linebacker in the National Football League.
Fred Warner plays are like our children, Greg. You love all of them the same, but I'm going to ask you to pick between Fred Warner plays, the Alvin Kamara, take it off your helmet, fumble recovery, or the late third down pass breakup that helped seal the game. What was your favorite Fred play from the game?
Well, I'm not good at picking like that, but if you want to start with the defense, I thought there was a lot to like with this defense. In fact, as I was watching it, and I watched it pretty slowly today because I was enjoying it. If their secondary, particularly the corner position, can hold up, and obviously they're playing the rookie Siegel at safety, who I think is going to be a nice player. I don't know what Mustafa's situation is. Is he on IR?
He is on IR for right now, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know what they'll do when he comes back. Who knows? It might be Pinnock that sits. I mean, Pinnock was obviously a guy who's been in the league, been with a lot of teams. But the point I was trying to make is they played almost all nickel in this game. I think, in terms of number of snaps, they played 65 snaps in nickel and only 2 snaps in base defense, and that was situationally specific. So I don't know if that's something they'll continue for the rest of the season or if that just happened to be game specific. When it's only 2 games in, you don't know that for sure yet. But I will say that if their outside corners, Green and Lenore, can hold up and Stout could be a solid nickel, that front 6 is really, really good, really good. I thought Williams, the rookie, Mikael Williams, I thought he had some really good snaps, both in the run game and rushing the quarterback. Right now, his game is built on power. He's very strong. As a rusher, he'll need to work on some hand usage, some other things besides power, but he is strong. And normally power is the really good starting point for a player, a D lineman. So I thought he played well. I thought Collins had some really good snaps inside at D tackle. And look at what they're getting from Davis. Davis, through 2 weeks, has played really, really well inside. So this front 6, in my view, has played based on tape study. Again, that's what I do. These are not idle comments. You guys know that. It's all based on tape study. I think that this front 6 has played very, very well.
All right, we'll circle back to the defense, but we're clearly burying the lead. What did you think of Mac Jones' performance?
Oh, did he play quarterback in that game?
I'm told, yeah, that's who it looked like.
I thought he was very, very. It's funny. We talked about this a little bit last week. Mac Jones. What is Mac Jones? Mac Jones is an executor and a ball distributor. That's what Mac Jones is. So in a system with Kyle Shanahan where they present a lot of clean throws and a lot of good looks, he can function well. Although I really thought that his touchdown to Jennings early in the fourth quarter, that ended up being the winning margin in the game, I thought that was a really, really good play by Mac Jones. I won't go into all the details because people can't see it. But initially, the Saints showed a man-to-man look. And I think that play was going to be, if it stayed man, I think they were going to throw the wheel route to McCaffrey on the boundary side because he was going to be covered by Pete Werner. But there was late coverage rotation, and they went to cover 2. And so when Mac Jones took the snap, he had to recognize that instantly and realize that throwing the wheel route to McCaffrey was not going to be there. And he immediately, intuitively understood where to go with the football. And he hit Jennings right in the void in cover 2 with kind of a layered throw. I thought that was really, really good quarterbacking. That's the kind of thing he can do. Purdy's really good at that too. He's shown that he can do that in this offense through the years that he's played in it. So I thought Mac Jones played well. He was outstanding on third down. He was 7 for 12 for 121 yards and all 3 touchdowns. 6 of the 7 completions resulted in first downs. That's what's really important. It's because a lot of times guys can complete balls on third down, but if they don't get a first down, you're punting. So 6 of the 7 completions resulted in first downs. I thought he played really solid football. And another guy I think is really worth mentioning, I know Ben Barch went on IR today. I thought Connor Colby, the rookie from Iowa who came in and replaced him, I thought he played really, really well. And I think I made it a point to look at him pretty closely because I did him coming out from Iowa, and I assume he'll be the starter given how he played in this particular game.
Break that down in more detail, Greg, if you would, because Colby came in and, yeah, they didn't miss a beat, but also I was looking at an offensive line that kind of struggled to run the ball overall. What'd you think of the offensive line, not only from Colby, but in general as it relates to them running the football?
Yeah, I didn't think the run game was bad. I think what's been missing, is just that there's been no long runs broken. So in other words, normally someone like McCaffrey, he could have. I mean, this game I think he had only 13 rushes. They were very heavy throwing the football, which obviously was a decision made during the game that's how Kyle wanted to play it. Normally they don't play like that, but normally with really, great backs. What happens very often, guys, is they get 1 or 2 runs of, 25, 30 yards. Sometimes they could get a 50-yarder, and that makes the numbers look really good. But in some ways, it's no different than the 13 for 55. Let's say his next run was for 30 yards, and then he would be 14 for 85 yards, and you'd probably be saying, oh, McCaffrey had a pretty good game. So what's missing is really the 1 or 2 breakaway runs. I'm going through the same thing in Philadelphia with Saquon Barkley. There's just not breaking the 1 or 2 long runs that he seemed to break in the third and fourth quarter every game a year ago that McCaffrey broke 2 years ago, seemingly in every single game. And that jacked up the numbers. But I don't think their run game was bad.
No, Christian did also, even without those breakaways, he averaged over 4 yards a carry, which is usually kind of the benchmark. I'm interested in the rest of the run game, though. Like, we know that Brian Robinson is learning on the fly. What have you seen from him so far, and did it get better from week 1 to week 2?
Well, he's a specific kind of runner. He's a grinder. He's a tough, physical inside runner. He's got good size. He's not a breakaway back. He's not going to be like McCaffrey. You would expect McCaffrey to start to break some. He's been pretty close a couple of times. Robinson's not that kind of back. He's more of the grinder type. So, for him, if he gets an 8-yard run, that's a nice run for the kind of back he is. So I think you have to look at him and evaluate him differently than you would evaluate McCaffrey or a so-called top back in the league, because that's not the style of back he is. Now, I always thought, based on coming out of Alabama and even to some extent with the Commanders, that he could theoretically be a quote-unquote foundation back because he's a sustainer. That's what his traits are. But he's not going to be, hopefully McCaffrey stays healthy. He won't be that guy, obviously, with the 49ers. Hopefully he's the complement. Maybe 2 series a game he plays instead of McCaffrey, so you don't wear McCaffrey out. But he's not going to break 30, 40-yard runs.
What did you think of the overall run game and even the offense? Once Juszczyk goes out, you had no Kittle. They went to 12 personnel a lot, even 13. They went to 13 at times, Greg, and I was like, where's Greg Cosell? They're going to 13 personnel. I'm so excited.
Well, they played 5 snaps and 13 personnel, and Juszczyk got hurt after playing 10 snaps. So then you adjust. And you're prepared. Coaches are prepared for contingencies like that. And obviously they were also playing with Kendrick Bourne. He played 35 snaps as the third wide receiver. And even though he'd been there before, he hadn't been there in quite some time. And now you're jumping him in as the third wide out. And it's just not that easy to step right in as if, you were there last week. So, it was given that they were playing with a backup quarterback. Juszczyk goes out. Bourne becomes the third wide out. It was a pretty efficient offensive game. If memory serves me correctly, guys, they did not turn the ball over, right?
Just the one time.
Yeah, Mac Jones fumbled one time.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yes.
Correct. I remember that now. Yes. Yeah, but I mean, he didn't throw a pick. I mean, it was, for the most part, it was a relatively clean game. And, I think if they play clean football, they normally move the ball to some extent.